My sister called CPS on me, falsely accusing my ex of abusing my daughter. When I confronted her, she smirked, saying, "I hope they take your children away." Now my family thinks I'm being petty for protecting my kids. How can they not see the danger? I will attempt to provide context. I am uncertain about how many details are significant. This is a lengthy post and I apologize. I am currently facing difficulties in maintaining the boundaries I set. I have a tendency to adjust them, disregard them, or be persuaded to relax them. One boundary I recently established that I want to uphold firmly is this. Neither I nor my living children, 16-year-old male, 6-year-old female, will be in the presence of my sister, 31-year-old female, until she communicates with me and or apologizes for her actions towards my family. My therapist fully supports me in this decision, and there are several individuals I have discussed my situation with locals who are familiar with me and my sister, who also endorse my actions. However, when I speak with my parents, mainly my father or my aunts, my father's sisters, about this boundary, they assert that I am doing this to punish my sister for her behavior. My father advises me to let it all go and live with grace because holding onto anger is not worthwhile. My sister has a history of spiraling every few years, engaging with drugs, alcohol, toxic relationships, and more. She has not been single since middle school and consistently chooses unsuitable partners. Every few years, she adopts a party girl persona and claims that her family or concerned individuals are terrible people because they have done certain things to her. This behavior has often surprised many people, who remember events differently or did not realize that my usually sweet and thoughtful sister harbors such anger. Recently, in late September 2024, my sister experienced another one of these spirals. She found herself in an abusive relationship with a religiously devout, much older man who referred to her as a demon. She was involved in a failing business that was accumulating more debt, and she owned two cats that lived in an apartment containing a BMW she did not drive, all while financially managing these burdens despite hardly utilizing any of them. We received late-night phone calls, unsettling text chains, and tearful conversations with her about the horrible things people were doing or saying to her until it culminated in her hospitalization. Once she was hospitalized, my father and I intervened to assist with her business. He was retired, and I worked full-time and to care for her apartment and her cats. We had offered to do this for her for months prior, but she never provided us with the necessary information to take concrete steps to help. It felt as if her late-night phone calls were solely for expressing sadness rather than seeking genuine help. While I was assisting with her business, I began to sense something unusual from the employees. They would comment saying things like, "I am just surprised that you are so nice. You are doing so much for your sister," or "I did not expect you to step up this much." This was perplexing for me because, while I may not be as outgoing and flamboyant as my sister, I do not consider myself unfriendly. Eventually, one of the employees revealed a shocking truth. She felt guilty about my efforts for my sister, as they were aware of what my sister had said about me. My sister was the one who reported to Child Protective Services in August 2024, alleging that my daughter was being abused by my ex-partner, 35-year-old male who still lived with us, and claiming that my ex had murdered my baby boy, 3-month-old male, who had died in 2021. In 2021, my baby suddenly became unresponsive, and my ex and I rushed him to the emergency room. The medical staff could not explain the brain bleeds he had without any accompanying signs of physical trauma, so they classified it as non-accidental trauma. The doctor involved in this classification has since regretted the decision and has written letters to the court regarding this action, triggering a horrific, nightmarish chain of events involving Child Protective Services and the police that has left me deeply traumatized. It was incredibly excruciating to drive 3 hours between my baby boy's hospital, where he was fighting for his life, to attend court meetings, lawyer visits, and police depositions about my two children being taken away to live with my parents. It was devastating to hear from the doctors, who told me they could not understand what had happened to him since he showed none of the signs of abuse, only to return to my hometown where older police officers and social workers, more educated and experienced than me, insisted without any doubt that I was responsible for my son's injuries. Although we were never charged with any criminal offenses, and our cases with Child Protective Services were dismissed, they were dismissed without prejudice, meaning they could potentially be reopened. We had to endure a sequence of bewildering, entirely baseless, and profoundly damaging events while our baby gradually faded away in the hospital. He passed away when he was 3 months old. The experience was deeply traumatizing for me, and every time I returned to town from the hospital to fulfill my parenting responsibilities or respond to social summons, I would confide in my sister and mother for support about what I was facing. My relationship with my ex deteriorated. We were already struggling prior to this situation. I have poor habits and he has anger issues. In 2023, there was an altercation between him and my daughter, who was 4 at the time, which I immediately reported to my therapist, a mandated reporter. Due to both my actions and those of my ex, my therapist informed me that she would not be filing a report. Together, we devised a plan to ensure my family's safety, and my ex began attending therapy, which appeared to prompt significant self-reflection and genuine change. We broke up, but he was unable to move out due to poor credit and high housing prices, although he continued to engage in therapy to improve his relationship with the kids. By August 2024, things had improved significantly, and they had been going well for so long that when Child Protective Services contacted me that same month, I was shocked to receive a call. I assumed it was related to the death of my baby, since we were technically still under investigation until the 3-year anniversary of his passing. However, the call came from an anonymous source alleging that the daughter was being abused by the father figure. The social worker conducted interviews with everyone involved and dismissed the case, but the situation brought back all the feelings from 2021. I confided in my sister, who comforted me, asserting that she had no idea who could have made that call. Perhaps my daughter was expressing concerns at school. I had no clue. Until November 2024, when I discovered from the employees who were surprised by my kindness that it was my sister who made the report. I called my sister to confront her, and we ended up in an argument. I hung up when she declared, "I am glad I called Child Protective Services. I am glad they came to your house, and I hope they take your children away." She spiraled again and ended up in another recovery home in a different city, where she quickly met another man and moved in with him, becoming engaged shortly thereafter. Despite feeling devastated by her betrayal, I continued to assist with her business. Given my traumatic experience with Child Protective Services in 2021, I have developed a profound distrust of the system. I am unsure whether the details matter, but they manipulated us and failed to follow up on various issues while being harsh with others. Now, I am genuinely concerned that there are 2 cases in our local office under my daughter's name because of my sister. I then learned about the allegations she has been spreading about me, that I had blamed my oldest son for being too rough with the baby and told him it was his fault that my baby died. She claims my ex continues to abuse and hit my daughter, which allegedly causes her to cry every time she goes to school. This is her first experience at a big kids' school, as she is in kindergarten. She asserts that I knew my ex killed my baby but loved him so much that I covered up for him. Furthermore, both of my parents supposedly knew my baby had been murdered but did nothing to support me. I also discovered that she had written extensive manifestos in the notes application on her phone about us. Me, my children, the manager of her store, friends she once had, and former partners. Every new revelation I learn about my sister reveals a terrifying persona beneath her cheerful facade, someone who is manipulative and unexplainably alarming. She has twisted intimate details shared with my mother and sister during the traumatic time when my baby was alive, morphing them into grotesque caricatures of me, which she has broadcasted to anyone willing to listen. Both my sister and I are actively engaged in the community, contributing to multiple nonprofit organizations, and the business where I work regularly interacts with community members. I am left to wonder how many of them know these stories about me and judge me according to them while remaining courteous. She reported me to Child Protective Services based on text messages I had sent a year earlier, before my breakup with my ex, retained those messages, and has fabricated a troubling narrative to share with others. On top of that, she has been frequently drinking and inebriated. Now my sister has returned to her job, which my father and I saved by implementing different business strategies, renegotiating loans, with my father dipping into his retirement to repay debts. People are congratulating her for her bravery in facing Alcoholics Anonymous and still appearing so beautiful. During the rare occasions when she sees me, she greets me with a smile, says hi, and attempts to engage in conversation as if nothing is wrong. This infuriates me, but I often find myself doubting my perceptions. I question whether I am overreacting. Perhaps I am, acknowledging that my past relationship with my ex was rife with self-doubt about my perceptions of conversations and conflicts. I informed my parents that I do not want her to see my children, and my father chastised me, stating that I am being petty. I recently attempted to reach out to my aunt for advice on how to communicate to my sister that neither I nor my children will have contact with her until she discusses what she has done, as this is supposedly part of the Alcoholics Anonymous program. But she interrupted me to ask if I was trying to punish my sister. I feel that I am acting to protect myself and my children from someone so deceptively manipulative and harmful. She argued that since my sister does not pose a physical threat to my children, would it be worthwhile to introduce this drama into the family? My question is primarily about what I can do or say to help my family comprehend my perspective in this situation. My therapist reassures me that I am doing the right thing, that this is a completely reasonable and anticipated boundary, and it is incumbent upon my sister to demonstrate genuine remorse, regret, and seek forgiveness. Only then would I be obliged to recognize her efforts. However, she has not shown me any indications of sincere effort, and I am beginning to feel like the monster she claims I am. In summary, my sister reported me to Child Protective Services based on false, outdated information and has perpetuated lies about me and my family throughout our community until she was finally admitted into recovery. She is now out and acting as if nothing has transpired, while I have established a boundary that neither I nor my children will interact with her until she reaches out to apologize for her actions. Certain family members, my father, my aunts, believe I am being petty and should forgive and forget since my sister's actions occurred while she was intoxicated. I seek advice on how to effectively communicate to my family that this is not a situation of forgive and forget, and that my sister must take responsibility for her actions. Story 2. Drowning in criticism, my fiancé demands an equal split despite my long hours, and I'm left wondering, is this love or control? As I brace for our shared home, my anxiety grows. Can we fix this, or is it time to face the truth? I, 31 male, have been in a long-term relationship, 4.5 years, with my partner, 28 female. We have shared a lot together and are preparing to move into a home that we purchased jointly. However, I have been reflecting on persistent patterns within our relationship that have left me emotionally drained, and I am wondering whether these issues can truly be resolved or if we are fundamentally misaligned. Currently, I live with 2 male flatmates while she resides in a studio that she purchased. We see each other on weekends. Background. I work long hours, roughly 12:00 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., which often leaves me mentally and physically exhausted. I contribute approximately 73% of our shared expenses based on income differences. She follows a highly structured lifestyle with an early sleep and wake routine known as the 5 a.m. Club and prioritizes health and productivity. She often cooks for us when I visit her on weekends so we can spend more time together. There is love and care in the relationship, but it increasingly feels strained. Recurring patterns and conflicts. 1. Regarding time and contributions. She has expressed that she does not value my job because it consumes time and energy that could be spent with her. She has stated that her expectation is for household responsibilities to be divided equally, regardless of my work hours or fatigue. I feel that she overdoes housework, and much of it is unnecessary. Some tasks could be outsourced. When I take time to rest or decompress after work, I am often told that I am wasting time or not contributing enough. She was not supportive when I accepted my job, raising concerns about my availability. My exhaustion is frequently met with remarks such as, "You do very little at home." She feels that I do not take enough initiative in planning weekends or activities. When I attempt to organize something, it is often dismissed, while she tends to plan more events. 2. Concerning communication and tone. She used to say, "How dare you speak to me like that?" when I said something she did not like. After I brought this up a few times, she stopped using that phrase. If I forget to say please when asking for something, I am corrected. If I overlook a minor task such as one item from a grocery list, she says things like, "I can't trust you with things in general." A casual comment I made about food regarding 2 spoons of peanut butter being a lot was perceived as food shaming. When I provided feedback about something she was preparing to say in public, she ignored my suggestions. Unfortunately, it did not resonate well. The audience found it offensive, and I felt ignored. I have been met with sarcasm when things do not meet her expectations. For example, when a towel was missing in the kitchen at my house, she remarked, "Oh yeah, and who's going to put the towel in place?" 3. About autonomy and judgment. She has a strong need for independence and dislikes asking where things are in my home, stating that it makes her feel dependent. She insists that items should always be in their proper place to avoid wasting time. She disapproves of the fact that my household outsources cleaning and laundry services and claims that I do very little. She has said that I was spoiled growing up due to how household chores were distributed in my family. She frequently comments on how I use my time and suggests that I should be more productive when I am not working. When I voiced concerns about unsafe areas or choices while traveling together, she insisted on proceeding and accused me of being controlling. Once, when I suggested a clothing option, her response was, "It's my body, I will do whatever I want." I have not made any further comments since then. Cultural and lifestyle clashes. I once mentioned a family tradition regarding an auspicious move-in date for our new house. She laughed and dismissed it as nonsense. She later apologized once I explained how that felt. She places a strong emphasis on health, early routines, discipline, and environmental responsibility. For example, she avoids flying more than once per year. She has mentioned that spending time with me disrupts her sleep and impacts her health. She has conveyed that once we live together, she will be the one bearing the costs associated with the relationship, mentioning her health and routine being compromised. Her background as observed by me. Her mother was the primary earner and dominant figure in her family. Her father was dependent and often criticized. Her mother strongly advocates for personal independence. She frequently speaks critically of male figures in her life, father, brother, former flatmates, and I have begun to feel as though I am being compared to them. My emotional experience. I feel emotionally unsafe, as if I am constantly being evaluated or corrected. I experience anxiety, tension, and a sense of performance rather than being my authentic self. I do not feel seen or appreciated for the work I do or the way I contribute. I hesitate to express my thoughts or suggest alternatives because I am often met with sarcasm, defensiveness, or dismissal. When I envision living together, I feel tight and anxious, rather than excited or secure. My question: has anyone successfully worked through a relationship where emotional safety, power dynamics, and high standards were ongoing issues? Can this kind of imbalance be repaired with effort and mutual commitment, or is it an indication that we are fundamentally incompatible? Summary: I, 31 male, have been in a 4.5-year relationship with my partner, 28 female. We are about to move in together, but repeated patterns of criticism, correction, and judgment have left me feeling emotionally unsafe and exhausted. My work is dismissed, my time is scrutinized, and my input is often ignored or overridden. I am trying to understand whether this dynamic can be changed or if it is a signal to walk away.